All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the, October 1st Continuum of Care Board meeting. This year has just flown by. Thank you all for being here today. We're going to go ahead and get started with roll call.
Dr. Sam,
Present.
Tamara Bellman. Here. Jaja Floyd.
Present.
Amaya Lenore. Elizabeth Mopin.
Here.
Dorsal Plants.
Here.
Ruby Tuesday Romero.
Here.
Martha Sasarosi.
Here.
Christina Sawicki.
Here.
Victor Liu.
Here.
Amy Thomas.
Amy is returning
Amy's
as a panel.
Yes, I saw
Yes.
that. Yep. We have 10 members present and 1 absent. You have met quorum.
Okay, great. And we'll let the record show when Amy or Amaya arrive. Okay, great.
Amaya did arrive.
Oh, no, I said
Oh,
if,
yes.
yeah, if they do. Before we get started today, I just wanted to briefly touch on the news that's going on. We just wanted to affirm that we're going to be in communication with, the KCRHA. We're going to be working together with them, and that this has happened before. This is not the first time that these things have happened. And so we're going to just hang on for the ride and see as things go through. And is there anything I missed on that, Dorsal?
Just that, we shared some information that was publicly available with the board this morning. Likewise, if any of the board members or anyone hears anything, please feel free to share it with other board members to just help keep everyone aware of the changes. But at the end of the day, the people that we're here to support and serve depend upon us doing a great job, and nothing that's going on in the news changes the fact that we are here in love and trust and dedication to those people that we serve. And we'll transition from there into grounding ourselves first. Oh, go ahead, Ruby.
Minutes. We got to do the minutes. I appreciate the dedication to the theory of change and land acknowledgement. Because that's absolutely right. And just to be clear, we are talking about like the news of the government shutdown, just to be clear that that's what we're speaking on. And we're going to go into the approval of the minutes before going into the land acknowledgement, if that's okay, so we don't forget. Thank you. Catherine. Or wait, I'm sorry, my apologies. How about we have a motion? Would anybody like to entertain a motion?
I would like to motion that we accept the excellent meetings for the minutes of the meeting for September. Thank you.
And this is Jaja. I second that.
Okay, great. We've got the motion made by Elizabeth and second by Jaja. We could call the roll.
We could do a voice vote.
Oh, we can do a voice vote,
For
even
the
better.
minutes, yeah.
So on the count of 3, all those in favor, say yes. 1, 2, 3.
Yes. In harmony.
Perfect. We sounded really together on that one. I appreciate it. Is there anyone opposed? Not hearing any abstentions? Nope. Sounds like the motion carries. Now I can hand it over to Dorsal, please.
Thank you. Grounding ourselves on why we are here, why we do the work that we do. I believe we have Dr. Sam reading the land acknowledgement.
Our land acknowledgement reads, the King County Continuum of Care Board acknowledges that we work on the unceded traditional lands of the Coast Salish peoples, especially the first peoples of Seattle, the Duwamish peoples, the original stewards of the land, past and present. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish tribe. This acknowledgement only becomes meaningful when combined with accountable relationships and informed actions, and is the first step in honoring the land that we today sit on and their people.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And we have Amy reading the theory of change.
Was she able to speak?
I don't have a copy of it.
Oh,
I was
we'll
asked
put
ahead
on
of
the
time
agenda.
and I don't have a copy. So
no
I
worries.
apologize. Anyone is able to step in for me and I will
I got you, Amy.
get my hot little notebook out for next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. This is Jaja. I'll read the theory of change for you.
Thank you so much, Shaja.
You're welcome, sweetness. The theory of change. If we create a homelessness response system that centers people with lived experience of homelessness, then we will be able to respond to needs and eliminate inequities in order to end homelessness for all. Back to you, Ruby, or Dorsal. Yeah.
Thank you, Amy and Aja, for jumping in there, and great teamwork. So we are to the point, or we are to the time on our agenda. We will have public comments. Catherine, has anyone submitted public comment in writing, please?
No, they have not.
If you are here or learned a better way to do this, is there anyone in person that would like to address the board? Please let Catherine or Ruby there in the room know.
Not seeing anybody here in person today.
Thank you. And if you are online and are attendees and would like to address the board, please go ahead and raise your hand and we'll promote you so that you're able to speak. I am not seeing any hands, but I do see some people attending. So welcome. We're glad to have you here. So I'll hand it back over to you, Ruby.
Thank you. And just wanted to let the record show that Amaya is here, so we do have full attendance today. And then we're going to move into the board and committee updates. Looks like we have a few here listed, so better get started. Do we have a system performance committee update?
We do, but it's kind of hit and miss because we've had some issues with our planning meetings, and so I know that there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be going over in terms of the data standards and the workflow and the annual plan. And also, we are looking for another co-chair. Right now, I'm just serving as interim. And Christina is the current seated co-chair. So there should be a formal like election process coming for those who may be interested in stepping into that role, or maybe recommending somebody who might. Just letting putting that out there. But Christina, did you have anything that I'm not remembering? There's probably a lot I'm not remembering.
No. Well, yeah, I think we went over a few reports last time and we got some feedback from, or we got to input some feedback on a few things that Daniel was sharing with us. As my mind is slipping as well. It was a long meeting last time, and so there was a lot that we covered.
And I think he's going to touch on a couple things during
Exactly.
his presentation today.
You're correct. That was, we were gonna be talking about the housing inventory count, and so we're excited to.
Which we weren't able to get to at the system performance
Mhm.
meeting, so, yes.
Yeah, so he'll be able to touch on those things as well, so. Don't think I forgot anything, right? I think we're good. Good job. Thanks, guys. We have Tom here to do the coordinated entry committee update.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Tom Regan. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the coordinated entry manager for KCRHA. Our most recent meeting was last week. Some updates. We talked about the nomination quality trainings that my team is rolling out for the Continuum. So really like some targeted supportive trainings for folks who do, for coordinated entry assessors and folks who do housing navigation on topics like service matching to ensure that folks are, making good, working with folks. from like a trauma informed, using motivational interviewing techniques and kind of really working with folks to see what types of resources are going to work best for them through coordinated entry. So things like that, trainings we're providing to the community. And then just a brief update on our assessment pilot focus group. So that work is continuing along. The assessment pilot focus group just met yesterday. We're reviewing different VI SPDAT alternative assessments that exist and starting our kind of plan through like a planning framework of how we're gonna try and build a pilot around. And once we narrow down to choosing an assessment, how we're going to kind of implement that plan to pilot an assessment for the community. So, and then the last thing we did was we voted to approve and activate emergency prioritization for the bridge shelter, which is facing closure at the end of this year. So just making sure that the folks who are staying at the bridge are going to be exited to the streets and are all going to have referrals to places before through coordinated entry before the program closes.
Beautiful.
And the coordinated entry committee put something to the system performance committee for us to vote on. Want to talk about that?
That wasn't something that we discussed in our coordinated entry committee meeting, but that was something that we all
But
talked
it
about.
came from you guys.
It came from KCRHA.
Right.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought it came from you guys to us. I did not know that.
No, what Christine is talking about is the new agency, like the unfunded, not mandated, like data reporting and HMIS access policy. And that's something that our research and data and programs teams created and was endorsed by KCRHA, and then the System Performance Committee voted to endorse it at their most recent meeting.
Thank you so much for that. That was great. That was a very thorough
Yes.
update on that portion. Sorry that we're having you speak to.
Yeah.
All right, but that's great. Is there,
Elizabeth.
I was gonna say, was there anything else on your update though? Okay,
Those are the three major ones, so.
Elizabeth, did you want to go ahead?
Yes. Is the bridge a specific bridge in Seattle, or is it an organization?
The Bridge Shelter is a shelter program that's run by Catholic Community Services Coordinated Care Agency. And the building that it's at, I forget exactly why, but they're not able to continue operating their program out of that building, so they need to relocate. And so that building has to stop operations on December 31st.
Interesting. Thank you for that. Is there any other questions for Tom today? Not seeing any. I'm sure you can always email Tom if you have further questions. You answered my question in that question, so. Thank you so much for being here today to give that update. When's the next coordinated entry committee meeting?
October 23rd.
10:23. All right, and it's at 10 a.m.
I was right, it is the 23rd at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. All right,
10 to
guess.
11:30 now.
10 to 11:30. Great. Okay, so that's a public meeting. Everyone's welcome to come through. And the next system performance committee meeting is on the 15th, I believe. Oh, bless you.
October 15th.
Yeah, October 15th is the next system performance committee meeting. The next update we're gonna have is the charter revision work group. Is that Victor?
Yes, thank you, Ruby. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Victor Liu. For this work context, I use he, him, his pronouns. So the update is that the charter revision work group met on September 19, following feedback from members and the broader membership. And then we conducted a survey to gather additional input to ensure a more inclusive process and broader representation. And that was also being shared in the last meeting by members that was present through the public comments. So we wanted to make sure that the process is inclusive. And that survey closed on September 19, and the work group held an optional work group meeting on September 26 to review the responses that were submitted to us. And thank you, Kelsey, for synthesizing the information for the work group members to review. And the feedback that we receive will continue to guide the process and be incorporated when the work group resume meeting again, and the work group will meet again on October 17, 2025.
No, it's Melissa Robinson.
Thank you for that. Is there any questions for Victor?
Hi, this is Christina. I have a question. How many responses did they receive?
Excellent question. We sent many reminders. We only actually received 6 responses. Even though we say 6 responses, I do want to reiterate that the responses we received were very, very comprehensive, and it was about 11 pages of comments and feedback.
Okay. He said he was going to stop.
If we could
I feel like this call might open.
have, Patricia, I believe, could we have you mute? I'm sorry.
As far as I know, they should be available.
Okay. Yep. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Just moving forward, is there any other questions for Victor? That was a great question, Christina. Not seeing any. The next one would be the NOFO work group, if there is an update.
We have updates of a lack of updates. We are still waiting on the NOFO. It has not officially been published. We are also now in a government shutdown, so it is unlikely we will see the NOFO be published until the shutdown is resolved. A couple of things that were in the news recently with Politico as well as the National Alliance on Ending Homelessness is some information about what might be seen in the NOFO that we are kind of hoping to use to do some initial planning and thinking around. So a couple of things that are likely to be seen based upon this article and what the National Alliance has shared is that there may be a cap on the amount of funds that can go toward permanent housing projects. And under CoC funding, permanent housing projects include both permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing. So I did some very preliminary review yesterday of what, based on our annual renewal demand, what 30% of that would be compared to what we currently get for permanent housing, both collectively as well as for permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing. So starting to just do some thinking that we will bring to the rest of the NOFO work group around some strategies. So just trying to put together just some strategic thinking around what that might be. The challenge is that this is also not confirmed information. So we don't want to move too far down the road with information that we don't know to be fact. So trying to do a bit of a balance of those two pieces. I think something that is important to just have awareness on, we have all of our contracts for fiscal year 24, which is our funding for programs whose funds went from the earliest of February 2025 through the latest of December 2026. So the NOFO being late may start to see impacts come February of 2026 for projects whose grant period starts the earliest in that cycle. Of the 54 contracts we have, I would estimate the number of contracts we have, this is just from the top of my head, but from contracts we have that start February 2026 through June 2026 is about 12. Again, please don't cite me on that number because it is might not be correct. So we will be doing some just planning and connection with all direct recipients, which include KCRHA, King County, and a handful of nonprofits around planning to ensure that we have some guidance for organizations that may see potential delays come the beginning of next year. So we hope to see an OFO as soon as possible. Per kind of funding regulations with HUD, we have to have a minimum of 30 days. We are seeing this in the issues with the CoC NOFO builds. Our CoC builds NOFO that gave 3 days to respond. Regulation stipulates a minimum of 30 days. So based on that lawsuit that was put together by the National Alliance, I anticipate the minimum amount of time we'd have on the NOFO to respond is 30 days. So just using a lot of piecemeal information to try and build a potential what we might be seeing. So it's a bit of a guessing game still, which is further compounded by the current shutdown. But we will be providing as much information as we can as we get it, so that everyone is kind of prepared to move and respond and make informed decisions.
Great. I see Dorsal's hand. I had a quick question, if that's okay. Just, I did see something that was uploaded, by the KCRJ to the YouTube that has to do with, how to apply for NOFO. Is that something
Yes.
that is?
Our procurement team put together two videos. One is just how to apply for funding, and then another one was specific to how to apply for funding for the NOFO in particular. So those are kind of how-to videos to inform potential applicants to better know. We are working to also get those not only posted, but also sent out and communicated to potential applicants so that they have a little bit of an early knowledge on just what funding applications look like, what information they need to be prepared for. Yeah, so our procurement team has been working on that.
Yeah, I thought that was great to see. So, Dorsal, sorry for.
No, it's okay. Thank you for looking into your crystal ball for us, Kelsey. Can you distribute or send out the links to the 2 articles you mentioned, if that's possible?
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you.
Great. Is there any other questions for Kelsey and the NOFO work group? Nope, I'm not seeing any in the room, and it doesn't look like there's any online. If I'm missing you, please feel free to interrupt. I'm gonna hand it back over to you, Dorsal, if you want to do the co-chair update.
Yeah, I'm happy to, and feel free to jump in if I forget anything or get something wrong. I think just a logistical update. Some of you might have noticed that there's been a couple of co-chair planning meetings that have been canceled between meetings. Just want to note that that's not anything irregular. Please feel free to reach out if there's something that you need to bring to the agenda planning meeting for agenda planning or for meeting planning purposes. We're just trying to coordinate with so much, a lot going on. So that's kind of what's going on there. And I'll go ahead and plug the next co-chair planning meeting is on Monday, October 6th at 3. And that will be our hour-long meeting. So plenty of room. Feel free to come and bring items if you have concerns. I think the other real big update real quick is we did have the honor of representing you all to the governing board at their meeting. It was at a different time. It was Friday afternoon, or actually Friday evening rather, but there was really good attendance from the governing board and a lot of great participation. We largely just kind of went over program rules and kind of what the CoC is, and we highlighted the coordinated entry assessment pilot project that Tom mentioned in his update. And there was some genuine interest from governing board members in kind of getting an update and seeing where the results of that comes out. And then I think even more exciting, at least for myself and maybe some of the others here, we had the opportunity to talk about the wellness framework that Tamara and others here have been working on. And there seems to be some genuine excitement from multiple board members on the governing board about kind of what that looks like and understanding what it is that really just helps stabilize somebody in a home, besides just getting them inside of that home. And so that's kind of my update. Happy to answer questions, or Ruby, if there's anything I missed or anything you want to add.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add is that there was already some knowledge of the well-being metrics on the board, which is really exciting. And I'm sure that's what Tamara's gonna speak to as well. So I'm gonna hand it over to Tamara. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm like so giddy right now because as you know, I've been waiting for this for months and actually years, but this is awesome. And to see it happen in real time was so beautiful. And I'm so proud of you guys, and you guys represented well-being so beautifully. And I love how you emphasize belonging. Because that is a huge piece of it. And I adore you guys. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, thanks, Tamara, but you helped us develop that. So, we really appreciate the work that you do as well. And Patricia, I saw your hand. Maybe not. Patricia, did you want to share anything or did you have a question?
That was a typo error. Technology. My phone seems like it's just doing things on its own today.
They call them smart for a reason. No, well, thank you. And I did actually skip right over the convening planning committee update. And so if there's no further questions on the co-chair update, I'd like to step back a second and revisit our convening update there.
Great, thank you so much. I'm happy to report on it. So the CoC membership convening planning meeting occurred on September 25th. And the agenda remains in development as we explore a theme. Some themes that were suggested was around hope and resiliency, but more to come. And the planning also intended to have panel providers that potentially can include behavioral health providers, East Side providers, given the convening will happen on the East Side this year, and also potentially politicians that we are thinking about, so city council member or county members and even state senators to be potentially a keynote, to be part of the panel. And we are still exploring a keynote speaker for the convening. And the convening, as I mentioned, will be taking place at Bellevue College on November 18. And continuing to address access needs like in past years, this will be offered in a hybrid format.
Is there any questions on that, on the convening work group? Glad to hear it's in the East Side. That's exciting. Is there any other? Oh, Dorsal. Sorry, hand. Go ahead.
Sorry if I missed it in the update, but has a date been selected yet, Victor?
Yes, November 18. November 18 at Bellevue College. And it's a hybrid. I just want to reiterate that.
Is that it's not,
No,
it's not hybrid?
Not hybrid, no.
No, it's not going
It's
to
not
be
hybrid?
hybrid. Well,
Okay.
It's too
because
complicated.
because we're doing conference style convening, and we have 3 different rooms. I did speak with Ed about this morning, and he said that it's fine that we do not do it hybrid, but we just want to make sure that we invite the public to attend.
Thank
Sorry,
you,
Victor,
Catherine, for
what was the
sharing.
update?
Oh, thank you, Catherine, for sharing this. As a planning member, I wasn't aware. I thought that for the last few years for access needs, we would offer hybrid format because for accessibility purpose, some individuals from the community cannot attend in person. I'm actually very disturbed right now to hear this information because in the planning, I had shared that I thought it would be a hybrid format. So I'm actually very disturbed to hear this information now. I don't think this is the right thing to do if we're not addressing accessibility issue. So I really urge KCRJ staff to reconsider this. I don't think it's the right thing to do.
We'll take that into consideration, the size and complexity of the event that we are planning is quite challenging to be a hybrid event that we don't currently have the technology to be able to do. We can look into options, but if the planning committee wants to go forward with the event as planned and detailed, it might be very challenging. So we will
Can-
take
I-
into consideration what is possible.
And all of the
Kelsey,
sessions
thank
can
you
be.
for the consideration. I would respectfully disagree. I had attended events and conferences at Bellevue College, and they can offer a hybrid format. So I urge KCRHA staff to reconsider. So for the last few convening meetings, I think we have average maybe 150 individuals, about 75 in the last one attend virtually. I just think that it's not the right thing to do, to just have an in-person event without a hybrid format, given this is something that we want to really involve the larger membership. Again, I'm very disturbed, I would say, to hear this information for the very first time. It wasn't discussed at all in the last few convening planning. This is the first time I'm hearing that it's going to be in person and not a hybrid format. So I respectfully ask KCRHA staff to reconsider.
And Victor, I'll just say that I had a brief conversation with Ed this morning and I hadn't had a chance to even talk with Kelsey about it yet. So that's why the information had not been shared out as of yet.
Sounds like we all learned about it in real time.
Yeah, so it looks like there's some looking into technology and ability of what's possible and what's not possible.
And I do have a meeting scheduled with the IT representative at Bellevue College, and our IT manager, Derek, is going to go out with me. So we will have an opportunity to talk with them about that.
Sounds good. Sounds like there's a couple questions. I see, Christina, did you want to start?
Well, you answered that about it being recorded. Why don't we have online a library of those records? Because some of those are really valuable, like the guy from Civil Rights. You know, people have said that they wish they'd come for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can we talked, well, before Catherine time, we talked about having those available online, kind of like a library or media. If we're already recording them, why can't we post them? Is that not like a doable computer thing? I don't know.
No, they would be posted
Yeah.
when we record them. They would be posted
Okay.
on our website.
Yeah.
Forever?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Previous convenings that have been hybrids have not been recorded. Oh. Yeah, so while people can access it, it hasn't been a recorded event. Yeah.
Yeah. Moving online, I see Dorsal, your hand is up, correct?
Yes, it's up. Thank you, Ruby. I'll be quick because of time on the agenda, but I do want to just verbally, publicly in this meeting, second what Victor's saying. I think it's important to have a hybrid meeting, and I think if the intention is to move away from hybrid meetings, it should be announced at the last hybrid meeting before transitioning to not hybrid, because we're already pretty close to November. It's on the east side. There's already so many things that are shifting. And if it's a technology issue, I think there's some board members, myself included, who would be happy to support KCRHA and Bellevue College and have experience doing hybrid events. So we could actually be an asset. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dorsal. Elizabeth?
I'm
Sorry, I was just gonna say, we do have about 2 minutes left on our agenda on this item. So go ahead, Elizabeth.
very quick. I'm on the Continuum convening work group, and I live on the east side, and I would very much like to be part of those conversations. If I could be included, just let me know. I will find my way to Bellevue College.
Sounds good. I think we've got that in the notes here to involve you in those conversations. Definitely, you're the east side champion over there. So thank you guys for this good conversation. It sounds like we've got a lot of things moving, and that's encouraging. Speaking of moving, we're going to move into the next section of our agenda, which is going to be the update on the rapid rehousing standards, correct? From Jeff Sims, or who's standing in for Jeff Sims? Right?
Yeah, Kelsey.
That's right. I apologize, Kelsey. I knew that ahead of time, and I should have been better on my memory there. So Kelsey is going to stand in place of Jeff to give that update. Thank you.
Yes, give me one moment as I get my slides up to share with you all. Hit the share button, don't I?
I suppose.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, so Jeff was unavailable to be with us today, so I am here in his place. Kelsey Beckmeyer, she, her pronouns, the CoC manager with KCREJ. Providing some updates on where we are with rapid rehousing standards. This may seem like you've heard about this a lot, and we want you to feel like you've heard about this a lot so that you are very informed. And it may feel a little whiplashy. I myself have felt a little whiplashy with a lot of the kind of shifts and changes around rapid rehousing that we've had. We thought we were on a good line back in March when we had presented to you all and had you vote on updated standards. And then we got some updated guidance from the federal government around how funds could be used or not used. Up here, I've got a timeline just on the history and background of what we have done. But most recently, just changes at the federal level have kind of caused us to pause, rethink, and then undo a lot of that thinking. So there was a joint letter around and the executive order around federal funding, particularly around using funds for folks with various immigration statuses. And there has been a statute for RORA, which I will not define for you all or say too many times because it would be a tongue twister for me. But this essentially says the previous statute that programs that are providing emergency services and homeless services and nonprofits providing those services may serve folks who may not have documented status in the United States. With certain regards, particularly when it is a means tested benefit. So a means tested benefit is like an income-based benefit. Based upon your income, you are eligible for X amount of support. A new statement from the DOJ in, oops, I'm sorry. I want to say July or August, redid this, undid all of this and said, actually, that's not an exception anymore. No funds can be used for folks who are undocumented, writ large, the end. So that kind of caused us to then rethink what we were doing with rapid rehousing and rent subsidy models again. So we are wanting to kind of evaluate the models that we had put together back in March, which used income to kind of determine what subsidy model a household may best benefit from, whether it would be 6 months of support, 12 months of support, 24 months of support, and doing a declining rent-based subsidy so that any household, they would pay X amount of their rent each month. The program would pay the remaining percentage. With the information from DOJ in May, I want to say it was May, around the not using federal funds for means tested benefits, we rethought the reliance on income to determine the amount of assistance a household was providing. So we worked to provide some different models that were not considering income. We then got the other DOJ statement that kind of wiped out for RORA, and we said, well, okay, do we think about income again in determining support? So yeah, a lot of back and forth and trying to figure out how are we creating something that is person-centered, trauma-informed, is not forcing deadlines on households, and ensuring this is, for me, this is one of the key pieces that anyone who is receiving rapid rehousing in our continuum is receiving the same experience regardless of what program that they are referred to. You know, we want to make sure that if household A is referred to the program that Jaja is running, that household A gets the same experience as household B who's been referred to the program that Ruby is running. in terms of case management, in terms of support, in terms of financial assistance. So that there is not disparities between different programs that are operating rapid rehousing. So these are some of the principles that we are really trying to keep us anchored in as we continue reviewing, primarily the rent subsidy model. So with that, we are looking at two models. We are looking at a declining income-based model where a household would be referred, enter rapid rehousing, move into housing. The first 3 months for both models would be covered by the program. Starting in month 4 is when we see a declining model. So that would mean the support they receive starts to decline. The income base would be that a household pays X% of their income toward rent, and that shifts at a 3-month cadence. The other model that we are bringing forward, that we are first going to run by a few different groups before we settle, is a fixed rent contribution model. So again, first 3 months are fully supported by a program. Month 4, the household pays X% of the rent. So this could be, it would be a fixed amount of that is based upon the rent. The kind of goal we have with the models is to ensure that there is a ease of understanding for the households as well as for programs, so that there is clarity in what is due by both the program and the household each month. There's not a bunch of changing that happens every single month, but that it is understandable, it is steady, and clarity around that. So we are looking at these two models and wanting to get further input from providers, as well as the cross-cutting policy work group. So a little bit more on the income-based model. So this would be the option A. This would have kind of an initial stabilization phase where there is no contribution that the household needs to make. We then want to have an area where it's steady contribution. So no matter what, that there is a set cadence of time that this contribution will not be changing on a monthly basis. You will know month 3, 4, 5, how much you are expected to contribute. And that there would be incremental contribution increases. So that would go from, you are paying, 30% or 20% of income, 30% of income, 40% of income, on a kind of gradual increase. And then having a clear exit strategy. For both models, we are including a note that if 30% of someone's income is equal to their housing costs, that would indicate it is time to exit from rapid rehousing support, because it would indicate that someone is able to be more financially stable without financial assistance. But if that moment comes, there would be another month of subsidy support. So you don't have an immediate cutoff period to help support ease of transition. That is model A that we are looking at. Model B would be a declining model based on a rent contribution. And this would include a 6-month model, a 12-month model, and a 24-month model. 12 months would be kind of the baseline where everyone would begin. At month 3, there would be kind of an evaluation based on a housing stability plan, financial growth, work towards other stability factors regarding employment, education, et cetera, to kind of see, all right, are you at a place where you're ready to step down? So go into a 6-month model. Do we continue into a 12-month model because you're seeing, decent growth, decent movement? Or are we seeing that you're continuing to need some additional support, and that would move you to a 24-month model? A 24-month model would have the longest support runway. So that would include another additional 3 months of full program support. And then rent contributions would begin after that period. So we are kind of noodling around with these, trying to work out what the right like increment pieces will be, but wanting to build these out for more substantial feedback. The aim is to send this, get the models more detailed with the exact percent steps, et cetera, over the next week, which we would then send out to our rapid rehousing providers to review a week before we bring them together. Because some of the feedback we've had from prior sessions is that there's just been some dramatic shifts with all of these models, which like we 100% acknowledge, because we've been trying to, as best as possible, respond to some dramatic changes in guidance that we are receiving at different levels, and just ensuring that we are being as clear and thoughtful in this process as we can, as this is not, you know, it's not a small deal. There's a lot of funding for rapid rehousing. It can support a lot of households. So we want to make sure that we're being really thorough and thoughtful in what is presented. There has been a request for a ramp down period where households do increase the share of rent to ensure that, you know, no matter when a household exits from rapid rehousing, whether that's month 6, whether that's month 12, 18, 24, that at that period of exit, that household feels financially ready to take on full financial responsibility in the coming month. And that having a cutoff of, you know, they've been paying 50% of the rent and next month it's 100% is a huge cliff. So we want to try and make that cliff and that fall as short as possible. We also just want to make sure that models are person-centered, that we are focusing on housing first principles, that we are not kind of overly prescribing and predicting what households may be successful in what model. So we want there to be some nimbleness for folks to kind of flow between should they need it. You know, the other kind of piece that we have been hearing is that at this moment in time, referrals that we've seen through our coordinated entry system to rapid rehousing have had more substantial barriers to self-sufficiency. A huge barrier that we've seen, particularly the last year and a half, 2 years really, has been households with significant rental debt and arrears, which is a burden on households being able to find units and, you know, increase affordability. We've also seen that programs are having to find ways to bring down debt and bring down rental arrears. And that is also taking rental assistance dollars. So trying to think about what are ways that we can create as sustainable of a process for households as possible. Knowing that this is not a program that's going to end poverty. Our aim is to end someone's experience of homelessness. And, you know, this is one drop in that bucket to do so. So a couple of the next steps, and then I'll kind of go to questions. We submitted the models that we initially had, as well as updates from some of the standards to both DCHS with King County and the Human Services Department with City of Seattle for them to give review, as well as from HUD to give review, with a focus on multiple fund source streams to ensure that guidelines are meeting the minimum requirements and compliance requirements from all of the funding sources that go into rapid rehousing. We will be holding base building with rapid rehousing agencies, I believe on August 16th rather than the 14th. That should be going out to folks, October, not August. Where am I?
Turn it, I thought we were going back.
Let's go back to.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll connect with the cross-cutting policy work group as well on October 22nd. And it will be after those 2 sessions where we will finalize what those models are, or what the, you know, kind of final model we want to set on is. And that's when we will be sharing things out in more detail, because we don't want to, you know, confirm anything without that input. We are aiming, fingers crossed, to present this for final adoption to you all in November. And then from there, kind of planning out some rapid rehousing procurement, formal launch of standards that would include training as well. All of these timelines are also contingent upon the NOFO dropping. So should it come anytime between now and never, this may shift. Just as things happen, and yet that will continue. I hope everyone is getting some acupuncture coming. Keep your neck muscles strong. So we will continue to keep you all apprised of kind of the work that is going on and where we are aiming to moving to. So I'm gonna, well, I'll keep my slides up if there are questions you want to go back to anything.
Christina.
Questions?
Yeah.
Going back 3 slides, the one where you, no, one more forward, where you had the one that said the bottom, it said whether or not they're the barrier slide. Right there, barriers to self-sufficiency. What I'm seeing, what I have traditionally seen within the community is that barrier is not completely evaluated before people are put into, and the people doing the evaluations do not know what to look for around, like whether somebody can obtain full-time employment, etc. So there seems to be a problem that KCRHA is going to have to address regarding making sure people have the correct training and how to identify self-sufficiency. And then the second problem kind of came up right after we had our meeting, was that people are being put into housing and they want different, but they need better jobs and they are ready for better jobs. And the agencies don't have that level of job seek, it's like only
Right.
1 or 2 have job seeking type trainings, the rest do not. And so you've got somebody who's like, hey, I'm not able to find a job, but I can work, I need help. But we've got nobody helping them get to that level, whereas if we gave them that employment time, help them with the resumes and do better, we could get them off these roles probably a lot quicker with a better full-time job. And so that seems to be a huge issue in the community we're seeing as well. And it doesn't necessarily mean that's KCRHA's problem, but it doesn't seem like we're referring to places to help train and help support some of those agencies. So you've got somebody trying to do 1, 2, 3 part-time jobs, whereas they can be in a full-time job at Boeing or something like that, making the money to be able to go into housing, but they haven't had the, job development supports. And so that I'm seeing, I saw just in the last week, 3 people who want to, that have been put into these programs that don't have that. And so that's a real struggle to, that would help too as well, somewhere to like a barrier to be, I see it as a barrier to self-sufficiency, because they are the ones, they could also work. It's not also the people that can't work, but we've got some that need the where do I go?
Yeah. A couple things I think that speak partially to that is the work that our coordinated entry team and our training department, I want to say department, it's one person, is working on, is the nomination quality piece around working with folks to understand needs, understand potentials, understand barriers to make good nominations through coordinated entry. That is just starting. The next training is tomorrow. That will be a monthly series that happens. I think the other piece is that within the updated standards, providing a more thorough example of a housing stability plan that includes what's called a self-sufficiency matrix to try to speak to more of that nuance of understanding and working with folks. And I think something that I know has been on Catherine's brain has been around workforce development and working with our workforce development board. How can we make and as KCRHA, as a collaborative applicant, help make those connections with rapid rehousing programs and work development, and how can we build those relationships.
That's
That's great.
I would love to see us do some sort of work group around that, because the one particularly wanted a trade job and I had to run around. The agency had no clue what to do. And so I helped this gentleman run around to figure out how do you plug into the trades, what the unions are about, things I actually didn't know about, to really try and help this person who really could do some strong work, you know, besides doing 10 hours of this electric, you know what I'm saying? And so I think we really need to work on some of that to really help. You know, we're really strong on applying for SSI, applying for the, you know, but there are people that do want some jobs. Yeah. And Dorsal's hands up.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, Dorsal?
Thanks for the presentation, Kelsey. I've got 2 questions. First one is, so for Model A, it says that you have basically the family will have 30 days once their income reaches 30% of the household costs. I was wondering, is there a sense yet when like that 30-day like timer starts yet? It feels kind of like a very small window that, like, I don't even know as a case manager you'd necessarily know like somebody would hit until after they hit it, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll would detail this in more words, essentially, within the standards. The idea is, so folks will be doing in the current standards that are written every 90 days, kind of a check-in with folks, which would include an income review. So if at one of those 90-day income reviews, it's like, oh, your income is now like 30% of your income is your housing costs. We'll cover your rent for this next coming month. And that's when we'll work on kind of exiting. Because there are some fund source rules that are a little strict, because we also have to look at AMI thresholds, area median income thresholds. Most indicate that folks can receive financial assistance for X amount of time after they've hit a threshold. The exception is emergency solutions grant, which has a quicker, you hit the threshold, no more financial assistance. So trying to build in some of those nuance and guidance, so that it won't be an arbitrary time, but that we'll have kind of clear when those reviews should happen, usually cadenced upon move-in date for the household. So it's once someone moves into housing that review cadence would begin.
Okay, thank you. And my next question, and I think you were kind of hinting, so this is about Model B or Option B. You were hinting, I think, that there's still some planning pieces in here, but for me, the key piece to these 3 models, and whether or not it's people-centered, is who has the power ultimately in deciding which of these 3 branches you get into, and how hard it would be to, like, I heard you say flexibility, but like how hard is that flexibility both for the participant and also the organization? Do you have a sense yet who decides, who has the power in determining which model you get?
Really, and how we've hopefully written guidance and spoken about it, is that's really a partnership between the household and their case manager. Those are the 2 individuals who likely will have the most information. We do want to detail some like objective points of like looking at income thresholds, looking at, you know, housing stability plan, looking at the self-sufficiency matrix to help make those guided decisions. And, you know, if there is something that the objective criteria is kind of met, but they want to do this, we are building in a way for kind of a subsidy change request that would go to the like contract monitor to help make that decision with if they want to deviate one way or another. This is around like fidelity tracking to make sure that like if we're having, you know, 25 households be like, we want to change all of this, that tells me that our criteria is wrong. And that we need to adjust that initial like decision-making criteria. So wanting to make sure that we are building in some kind of guides for that decision-making, but that decision-making is really in the hands of that household and their case manager.
Right. I see Martha's hand and then Jaja, but Martha, go ahead.
Thank you. And I'm conscious of time and that we're approaching, I think, the break in the agenda. So I'll name three kind of questions or points of feedback and then be happy to pass along to Jaja. So first, I just wanted to say from like the DCHS review experience, at that time it was communicated to DCHS that the option B, like that the move was away from option B. So review of the two models wasn't part of DCHS's review. So if that could be included as an engagement step before.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then the framing of the goal. So a few slides before this, there was the goal of kind of clarity for provider, and households. And so I think that's an important goal. And I would hope that there would be other goals framed for this, like responsiveness to household needs, again, as identified by the household. Because I think that like goals can influence then, what option is selected. And so I think personally, I think of the income-based one as being more responsive to changes in household circumstances, but so just helping to name kind of goals or key kind of criteria for consideration, what's really being valued in the assessment of which model to go with. And then the third last piece is just a question around what data is available, because I hear the anecdotal and like qualitative information from providers. Also really hoping for a look at what the data shows us from program outcomes and any relationship that might be identified between lengths of stay, changes in income, housing stability, and exits, if that can be part of what's available for consideration about, which model to go with.
Great. Thanks, Martha. And a quick reminder to always say who's speaking before we speak. I'm sorry, I should have reminded us earlier. Thank you. And then Jaja, you have.
Yeah, mine's real quick. My name is Jaja Floyd. And my question is, so rapid rehousing, because we do this, is it a transitioning or like I move into rapid rehousing, right? And then I become able to take care of it myself. Do I stay in that place or do I look for another place? That's what I want to know.
That's a very good question. So rapid rehousing is households enter into a lease between them and the apartment. So the household is the leasee. The most common requirement is for a 12-month lease. There are a few fund sources that have exceptions to a 12-month lease. If after that 12-month lease ends, folks can move. If you exit and end financial support with rapid rehousing, you're still on a lease. So you need to either abide by your lease, break your lease, but there's kind of freedom of movement. It's not you are in a unit when it ends, you have to leave the unit. No, that's you're still on a lease. That's your.
Thank you.
Yep.
Because I was thinking, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question, a great distinction to make. If there's no further questions, thank you for that really comprehensive review of that. That was very helpful for somebody that's been involved in the process. It was really nice to see it laid out like that. And we look forward to voting on it at some point soon. Hopefully. January. Great. So
Tweaks and shifts to come.
November.
So we're gonna go ahead and move into break. It's 3:03 right now. I think we'll come back at 3:08 then. I'm good at math, I can do it. And we'll see you guys at 3:08. When you come back, just put your video on so we know you're here. Thank you.
All right, everyone. I am seeing it is 3:08 on my clock. If you can come off camera or off mute, just to make me feel less lonely.
Amy Thomas here.
Thank you, Amy.
Maya Lenore here. Dr. Sam, present.
Lopin here.
Christina's here. Ruby went to the head.
And is it just me, or I'm not seeing the camera for the room.
Oh, you're not?
But it might just be me, because I'm also not seeing Elizabeth's camera anymore.
I see Elizabeth, I see Martha, I see you. Now I don't see you. Now you see me?
I can see him dorsal.
Okay.
It is you.
And you're still there, Dorsal.
Yeah.
Oh, now everyone's. The universe just wanted me to look silly for a moment. Right. I think we have quorum, even without Ruby. So we'll go ahead and plug along, because we only have so much time together and want to respect everyone's time. So we are on to the Q2 CoC program performance review. We will be hearing from Kelsey, who I think needs no introduction given she was just talking to us. But we have Walter with us, who I believe this is your first time joining us. So we're really glad to have you.
Good to be here. Really appreciate it. I am celebrating my 6th month at KCRHA and my 20th year in the housing stability and homeless sector. It's a great year to be here and to be a part of this meeting. So looking forward to spending.
Well, welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Do you get a little gold coin when you hit 20 years?
Unfortunately, you don't get much.
Oh, man.
But you do get some really good stories and testimony,
Like,
and you get the chance to see programs grow and develop. So.
I'll give you a coin after. I'm just kidding. Awesome. Well, thank you. And is everybody done? Right?
Yeah, yes.
We have.
And I will pull up slides again, so we have our visuals for you all. So Walter and I are gonna talk with you. Was there a comment? Okay, no, I thought I heard something. Could just be me. But hello again, Kelsey Beckmeyer, she, her pronouns. Walter and I are here to talk and share kind of performance of CoC programs throughout the full continuum. So these are inclusive of not just the programs for which KCRJ is a direct recipient. This is the entire CoC portfolio. Yeah, that's all the introduction I needed to do for you. So once again, Kelsey Beckmeyer, she, her pronouns, the manager for our kind of CoC team. So focusing on larger overall portfolio of programs, and brought in to present with me.
Walter Washington, he, him pronouns, and I'm managing the housing stability piece of our work, which is a lot of that happens post-placement. We have talked a lot about what happens in emergency shelter, which is another side of things, and I'm responsible for ensuring the efficiency and the safety and security of post-placement programs.
So some of the goals that we have in our time with you this afternoon is reviewing that kind of full portfolio of programs, looking at number of households that are being served by programs and kind of key performance based on system performance metrics, and looking individually at program types. I also prepared a little bit of the breakdown of costs. That was a question that came up back in May when we looked at performance, was around how are we using this money? So provided a bit of a breakdown of some of the costs to talk through with you all as well, to hopefully give a little more insight into that question.
They're having fun. I can hear.
So I want to give a little overview around our funding, the number of units funded. So when we look at CoC programs, when we look at specific funding for individual ones, so permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, some of the funding is based on the number of available units or projected households to serve. Those households for rapid rehousing are kind of predicted based on a number of units we think will be allotted. So I have a breakdown here of the total number of units that the CoC funding we receive is dedicated to fund. This is the minimum number of units that the money we are receiving from the CoC is going to fund. So for permanent supportive housing, we have 2,301 permanent supportive housing units. So individual apartments are funded. 527 units are funded for rapid rehousing. That can fluctuate because the number of units and the formula that HUD does to determine rental assistance does a formula that assumes 100% of rent costs will be covered for a full year for a unit. And it asks you to project the specific unit breakdown. So for a rapid rehousing budget, if you want to fund 20 units, when applying for funding and renewing funding, you detail, is that 20 units 5 studios, 5 1-bedrooms, 5 2-bedrooms, 5 3-bedrooms? Is it 10 1-bedrooms, 10 2-bedrooms? So you have to predetermine what that is in the application, but in reality, it's not always that way.
Right.
Because we may see that a program, gets, 3 really big families that need 5-bedroom units. So that, that can fluctuate and change, but it needs to still be within that rental assistance budget. And when we submit our performance outcomes or the annual performance report or an APR to HUD, they look at your utilization and how many folks were in a unit in a rapid rehousing program. And if there's some other complicated pieces of our rapid rehousing. Rapid rehousing is a little bit funky. But just want to provide a little bit of a snapshot of when we talk about the funding. This is the number of units, and this is the kind of the projected number of households that the money we have is set with HUD based on our application performance commitments to be supporting with our CoC money. And Martha, your hand is up. I will take your question because I know you have a lot of experience with this. Yeah.
Yes, just real quick, I wanted to offer too that within the permanent supportive housing units, it's a mix of site-based and scattered site. And so we see some fluctuation too, kind of like rapid rehousing, where in fact the rent assistance dollars may stretch to serve more households. And then just the added context of these are the CoC portions of project budgets. All projects have to have match, and the actual cost per unit or household is higher.
Yes, absolutely.
Can she explain site versus scattered, please?
Yeah,
okay.
So a site-based means that all of the buildings are in one apartment. So that would be,
Other buildings are one
all the units are in one apartment.
Okay, in one building.
In one
Gotcha.
building.
Let me inverse that for you to really confuse you. Where scattered site is we are renting apartments in the private market. So it could be, any available unit in the private market within the allotted for rent limits.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many buildings do we own?
I think we can get to that.
We can get you that information
I
another
just was
time.
wondering
Yes.
how many serves that.
There are a lot of buildings. So I can work on getting more of that information for you next time.
Okay.
Yes. But this is minimum, I want to say 20 buildings.
Okay, so that's
Minimum 20 buildings, and we have now 3 grants because one was merged that are scattered site based grants. And here I did a little bit of a annual cost per household with that caveat of this is the number of households we are funded to serve per our applications for this, just the CoC dollars.
Okay.
The other piece I want to just highlight is the joint component. You'll see that cost per household appears to be much higher. Part of this is that joint component budgets tend to be a bit newer because it's a newer program type. So those budgets are initially applied for based on more current costs needed. Because CoC grants, some of them are very old grants. So they're looking at the cost needed to serve folks 16, 20 years ago. So the cost we get for this from the CoC funds may appear to be less per household, because those grants, with the exception of rapid rehousing, don't tend to inflate over time. Our rapid rehousing grants see an increase on rental assistance on an annual basis for a fair market rent increase. So we'll see some slight increases there. But our transitional housing grants, safe haven grants, PSH grants, majority of those are very old. So the initial application for what they would need to serve this program, that number stays the same as it was 16 years ago. And we know that operation costs, all of that is not the same as it was 16 years ago.
So what's joint component? That one I've not heard.
Joint component is a program that is a combination of transitional housing and rapid rehousing.
Thank you.
Yes. This is this similar information kind of just broken down a little bit differently to show the actual like numbers of costs. So we know just anecdotally, PSH is a much more expensive program per unit to run. The costs that are included in this are not just costs that go to rent assistance. This goes to staffing, case managers, for PSH and transitional housing and shelter, safe havens, facilities management, leasing, janitorial services. So all of that is included in these costs. And these are kind of amounts per unit.
Per year?
Per year.
Per year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
Yep. So when we talk about, we receive $66 million, we're able to serve, 3,500 households. All of that funding, wanted to provide at least like a brief snapshot of what those costs might look like.
Okay.
So we have, around 2,300 PSH units. Each of those units cost roughly, again, these are all very estimates and it's just the CoC dollars, but for CoC funds, about $17,000 per unit is going to permanent supportive housing.
Okay.
Yeah, so wanted to get you a little bit of that information. So in looking at, we also wanted to look at a more significant chunk of time. The previous presentation, we just looked at Q1 of 2025. So really we wanted to look at Q2 to Q2, Q2 of 2024 to Q2 of 2025. In that time period, we are estimated to have served 3,560 households. And we actually served during that time due to ability for rent shifts, primarily around rapid rehousing, and units that may have turnover. So folks in more people in the same unit in 1 year, which happens in transitional housing, may happen in a safe haven. We served 4,590 households from Q2 of 2024 to Q2 of 2025. Too many numbers, too many letters. We see primarily our CoC funds go to serving folks in permanent supportive housing. And then the next kind of large amount of assistance goes to folks in rapid rehousing. This is where the majority of our CoC funds go to serve. And those are the program types that we primarily have funded with CoC dollars.
Unduplicated households.
Unduplicated
Not
households.
heartbeats.
Yeah.
Supportive services only.
Yep.
Supportive services only.
Yeah, so that is captured in some of our YHDP programs, our support services
Okay.
only indicated.
Okay.
I was trying to do my math there. It makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I see Dorsal's hand. Do we want to pause really quick? Dorsal, did you?
Yeah, just really quickly, I'm curious kind of what's the follow-up or the process, like, a thousand households is a significant difference from the estimated to the actual served. And so is there kind of a process to dig into what may have occurred to cause that like clear shift and a clear understanding of why the estimated number served was? I understand there's turnover and stuff, but one of the other things that's striking me with this time period was the increase in evictions, which all of some of the nonprofits. So that's some of the turnover. Like there's multiple kinds of turnover when we're talking about turning over that enables us to serve more people in a year. And so I'm just curious if you look at like those differences.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Well, yes, for sure. And we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment in terms of the exits to successful exits and those who are not so successful. But I do want to point out one thing here that I find encouraging is the increase in permanent supportive housing. No, the decrease in permanent supportive housing would be something more so that to point out something that more like. Knowing that we need more permanent supportive housing, the demand is super, super high. So I just want to kind of point that out.
Yes.
And I would note that it may not be a decrease. We'll look at the actual, I can pull and look at the actual numbers. The distribution is different, because it's 59% of the total for 4590. So I want to put a tiny pin in that one. What we do see though is, also in our support services only, these are some of our YHDP programs that are youth serving that do like navigation and diversion support, as well as behavioral health, peer support. So it may be that we also saw more people who were accessing that. So something that we can do for the next time is kind of dig into what those exact differences are in that estimated to serve an actual serve, to give a little bit more detail about where we maybe saw we served more people or we saw fewer people than we estimated.
And I know Martha probably has some follow-up on that. I just wanted to flag the time on this agenda is tight, and I do want to get to the housing inventory count. Martha?
I just wanted to offer with the rent assistance programs too, there's the number of households expected to be served with that award. And with some programs like Shelter Plus Care, where we have folks who've been in a unit for more than 10 years, the rent we pay on that unit might actually be quite a bit lower than FMR. And so we're actually able to serve more households based on that total rent assistance budget than what our project application requires as the minimum. So in some cases is that we're actually stretching the rent assistance dollars to serve more households, not necessarily that we're churning through more, but just that we're serving more than the minimum.
FMR.
Yeah, so
Fair market rate, right.
I'm
thank
gonna,
you for that context. Sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
I'm gonna hand it over to Walter, who's gonna walk through some of the performance information.
Thank you, Kelsey. And Kelsey spoke to many mindful of, there's a large diversity of programs, even within like a rapid housing modality. Like you have your youth serving, those who are exiting folks fast, as a success, those who are exiting folks fast unsuccessfully. So keep that in mind as we look at these numbers. I'm gonna read from these slides. Of course, we have eyes ourselves, but numbers of households served, we spoke to that 4,585. Exit rate to permanent housing is 89%, which is fantastic.
Yeah, went up, correct?
6-month rate of return, 2.4%. Days from referral to movement is 85. So we're looking at just shy of 3 months. In unit utilization, 95%.
I do want to note, I believe I have a typo on this slide and this slide because I have 4590 here and 4585 here. I will confirm, I thought I had updated that with the correct ones. So I will make sure we update this and send an updated version with that correct if it's 4590 or 4585.
Okay.
I note that error.
I just had a quick question to understand. I know that we're looking at just CoC programs. When we're looking at the bigger picture and we have the system performance like measure, that's quite a decrease from what it was the days from referred to move-in. Isn't it kind of a decrease or is it not? I mean, like meaning like it was a lot longer in the past, correct? And so now we've gotten it down to 85, is that?
Oh, I see
And
what
I'm
you're
just trying to
saying.
understand if that's because it's just these programs that we're focusing on, or is the whole system gotten down to an 85-day, which would be great.
That is a good question. So we have live dashboards on on the KCRHA website under system performance that show the full everything that is funded in an HMIS. And this is just those COC funded programs. So this is a particular set of programs, not everything. So the numbers here may look different than what is on that overall system performance. Yeah.
Cool. I wanted to make sure that we
Yeah.
were all understanding that. And then I see Jaja, go ahead.
I think it was dorsal,
Oh,
but I
dorsal.
just really wanted to say, what is unit utilization?
The amount of inventory that we have available, this isn't a snapshot.
Right,
It's how many that we have available and then how many are being utilized on an aggregate.
Yeah.
okay, got you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry, dorsal, thank you.
No, that actually might have helped my answer, because 95% unit utilization rate, but this is during the time period that I believe a significant number of public funders identified that there had been challenges specifically in PSH in our region and leasing up people and doing unit turnovers. And so I'm kind of shocked to see, like, is this including PSH in King County? Because like this number, I don't think aligns with the unit utilization that Commerce had and was using. I mean, it led to a change in policy. Martha, you might know a little bit more on that than me, but yeah, this unit utilization, where exactly did it come from?
This is the utilization of all COC projects. We do in the next few slides have program type breakouts. And this is just the COC portion. So it could be that the larger PSH portfolio utilization looks different than just the COC funded portion. Because another piece is that we may have some buildings where some of their inventory has COC funding, some of their inventory doesn't have COC funding. So it might not include everything.
Again, it's a specific subset.
Yeah.
correct?
Yep.
Great.
So I'm gonna move us to those breakdowns of individual projects.
For rehousing, we are looking at the rehousing slide. Just for reference, exit rate to permanent housing for rehousing, our goal is 80%. So we are shy of that. 6-month return rate, 5%. Not bad, so that's right in line.
Lost captioning.
Oh,
And then here we go, the days from refer to move in for rapid housing is 132. We made that earlier, that it was 80, I think it was 89 was the average across the board. Mhm. So this rapid housing only, of course, the unit utilization dorsal, there is not available because it's rapid housing, not transitional permanent housing. Mhm.
meaning it's not a specific set, correct? There's no way to calculate that. Okay,
That's correct.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, utilization is based on who's enrolled, how many households are enrolled, not available physical units.
Okay, cool. Thank
And we
you.
keep it dorsal, your comment in mind, we look at the unit utilization for transitional housing only here at 75%. So there could be some recon that needs to happen that we'll do.
Mhm.
Number of households served, 300. Exit rate to permanent housing, 67%. Our goal there is 80%. 6-month return rate is very low, 1.4%.
Interesting.
A note on the unit utilization, we do know that it was during this period, we saw some transitional housing units come offline for a longer period of remediation, so they had to be fixed up. We saw a program that experienced flooding, we saw fires happen. So there may be times when units are offline for a longer period of time. And that impacts overall utilization of those units.
Okay, that. Tell me what 6-month return rate is.
Two.
To homelessness,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
what I thought. it was.
So the
That's good.
measure is,
yes.
this is looking at, of those folks who exited to permanent housing, how many return back to homelessness in a 6-month time period? And we usually just look at 6 months. We are able to also gather data for a year and 2 years. So in coming presentations, if you want more of that detail, we can work with our data team to get further timeframes as well.
That's often stated as a transverse as well, like to where that is 95%, let's say, as a positive as retaining housing.
Right.
So it could show up different ways.
1.4%.
Is there, Dorsal, is there a way that we could submit the question afterwards? We're getting to time on this agenda item, but thank you. I apologize and appreciate that. We can move forward, please.
There's a permanent supportive housing only component Dorsal. This is dragging us up to 97% unit utilization. So that's one I think we're gonna do continue recon on, but it does appear here is 97%.
Yeah, and again, it's just those CoC funded units, so it may not be the full portfolio. There are a lot of PSH units that don't receive CoC funding, so that may be part of it. We also see a lot of units that have funding for operations and, you know, through other sources that are likely captured in that larger picture that Commerce is talking about versus just those with CoC funding.
Oh, unit utilization performance was 95% was the goal, which is high, but the goal, but this is good. It's encouraging news.
Yeah, that's encouraging.
Yeah. Thank you.
Safe haven.
Also serve 71. As a percentage of our portfolio, this is the smallest.
Yeah. There's a zero.
Is safe haven like for YHPD?
No, a safe haven is a very old program type that's actually not really funded anymore. We have 2 programs that were kind of continued on and allowed to continue on with Hearth and McKinney-Vento and CoC funding shifts. And these are very low barrier supportive housing. So it is intended for folks who are literally homeless with a severe mental illness. It's kind of a mesh of like a low barrier shelter and supportive housing. There's not a time limit on length of stay. But there are less eligibility criteria requirements than with permanent supportive housing.
Okay, got you.
Which is possibly why we see a low return rate of homelessness there, because they're not really moving onward. Okay.
Yeah, they're moving though, 88%, that's still good.
Yeah. And I also think that it's just important to highlight that the permanent supportive housing number, like units we have, is like about double what we're talking about here. From what I understand at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that might be why there's a little bit of difference from what we've seen reported. Cool, thanks.
Overall, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I know.
And there's a SSO, supportive services only. Numbers to compare that to. But numbers we had served 523 households. Exit to permanent housing, 95%, very strong. And in the 6 months, we have that looks like a 0.3, but I believe that is 0.3%, is that correct? Wonderful. You also typed in.
I can't get to the comments yet, but we'll get to that.
Okay, we can't see the chat right now, but we will make sure that we.
Overall, we consider this to be strong performing CoC portfolio, in areas of improvement that are needed.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah,
People in pretty
and
good shape.
seeing Dorsal, your comment, the return to homelessness rate, yes, it's always going to be an imperfect number around returns to homelessness, as it does require someone to then receive a service that is recorded in HMIS again.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that is
To know that they have.
a place of contingency, right?
Yeah, it will always be an imperfect assessment, in the same way that a point in time count will always be an imperfect count of everyone experiencing homelessness. You know, we'll never have all of the information 100% in HMIS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So you could easily, we could easily start advocating for at least allowing for the return to homelessness rate to be nationwide. All of the United States is using HMIS. We can know if we send someone to Pierce County if they return to homelessness within 6 months. That is a realistic, achievable goal with the data. I appreciate that data is never 100%, but I also don't want to just accept that. I mean, where we're at now is where we always have to be, given the level of technology that the most developed country on earth currently has. Thank you.
That's what they say.
Yeah, I know, we'll have Daniel share next. I think one of the challenges is that not all HMIS systems are on the same database.
Correct. They don't
So
have the same
yeah.
providers.
So while we may all use the internet, some people use Google Chrome, some people use Firefox, some people use Edge. And those histories might not always talk.
But we could visit any web page on it, so.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a very important thing that we can definitely focus on in the future there, right?
Yeah, time.
Because I'm sorry, for the sake of time, I do think we have to, because I want to respect Daniel, and giving our housing inventory count, which we have not had, and we did push back from last agenda, correct?
And I don't know if Daniel is still having issues with his.
So we might still have some
Is he
time.
on? Yeah, he is.
Daniel, are you ready to?
Oh, I don't have any issues. I was just, I was asking if somebody could do the PowerPoint so I could talk through it. It sounds like maybe there's technology issues on your all's end, limited to run that.
That's what I was sharing with you, Daniel, in our chat, that Kelsey is gonna do the presentation for you.
That would be great, Kelsey. I would love that if you could.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
And thank you so much for being here, Daniel. We appreciate it. Excited to hear this report. I know we pushed it back, so thank you for your patience.
I was like, oh, now I have to find it.
And as Kelsey's
I can share it with you.
I have it. I got it. I was being a little silly.
Just a smidge.
Just a minute.
All right.
Okay.
Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yes. Thumbs up.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Kelsey. I'm just kind of syncing up to make sure I could stay on slide. So yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for joining, and that was a great presentation. This is a good segue into from sort of the performance evaluation. Well, hang on, thumbs up. Everyone can hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Great. So I'll just sort of run through. I know we're shorter on time, and I do want to leave a lot of room for questions. So the HIC, Housing Inventory Count, it's the annual report, companion report to the point in time count. So every year we look at the point in time count, how many folks are being served in shelters, transitional housing, and safe haven. What is often not talked about is that we actually do a point in time count for every intervention type. So not just those emergency housing beds, but also our permanent housing beds, rapid rehousing, PSH, PH. And we do that for every project in HMIS and for non-HMIS participating projects. And so what the HIC represents is that inventory and occupancy for the entire system. Next slide, please. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
I saw it. I swear I saw it.
I know, yeah. Pardon me, y'all. Here, it'll be even better now. This is the Q2. All right, give me 2 seconds.
So I'll just kind of chat here. So a reminder that the HIC, and we'll talk about the bed. I'll talk about the beds mostly, but the HIC is tethered to the PIT. So we look at those beds as a snapshot, like Walter was talking about earlier for the CoC eval. On January 30th of this year is when the PIT was, and that's the same for the HIC. That's when we collect those beds from all the different providers. And just a quick methodology walkthrough. BitFocus is the project lead or vendor. They work to pull that data from HMIS, we do a series of data quality checks, and that compiles our HMIS participating beds. And then what I do as the HMIS administrator for KCRHA, since it isn't BitFocus's role, I work with all the non-HMIS participating. So think of UGM, some of the smaller shelters around the region that just aren't entering. They, they're mission driven. They don't receive public funding. So they do participate, but they have no requirement to. So I work with them very carefully. I explain the importance of this. And this data that you're going to see here is a combination of both HMIS and basically hand tallies of beds in our community. But it's very comprehensive. And each year, we try to ensure that we're capturing all the folks who are providing beds that aren't in HMIS. And that runs right up into the deadline. I'm Operation Night Watch, for example, a program that recently put up a shelter that we were able to count in this year's HIC. We got them in at the last minute. So we're really trying each year to make sure we're capturing it all. What we are seeing is that there are more and more providers jumping into the shelter game and funding their own shelter beds throughout the system. And I'll talk, I may talk a little bit more about that later. We can answer that for questions, but these are the focus areas. I have some comparisons I'm going to show you and walk you through. We can go to the next slide here. I've sort of explained this, what it is, why it matters, how it's collected, and really you are all in the command seat on this, on how it's used. I think of this as just another data reference for you to use for your planning and decision-making when you think about where we need more inventory or how the inventory is changing from year to year. Next slide, please. So these figures in this presentation, when I put it together back in August for us, has been updated. So I want you to pay attention more to the bars here because that is still accurate, just sort of the volume that you see there, but the exact counts have changed. So I'm gonna walk us through this and then I will pause for questions on this. But for our emergency shelter beds this year for the HIC, we had 6,236 beds that were counted. That's up 20% from last year at 5,226 beds. It's a pretty big increase there. For our permanent supportive housing beds, we increased 608 beds. So that's roughly 8% increase from 8,376 this year to 7,768 from last year. So again, about an 8% increase there. For rapid rehousing, last year, we had 1,990 rapid rehousing beds. This year, we counted 2,394, another 20% increase. So overall, we're seeing a 20% increase in emergency shelter beds as well as in rapid rehousing. And I'll talk a little bit there about what we've concluded there on those increases. Safe havens, this is a CoC project, but beds don't change. HUD isn't funding that. Kelsey could talk a little bit more about that. It was 76 beds we had last year, 76 beds this year. For TH, we saw a small decrease of 1%, 1.5%, from 1,742 in 24 to 1,717 beds in 2025. Is everyone with me so far? It's a lot of numbers.
Yes.
So overall, from last year to this year, last year we had 18,307 beds total in our inventory. This year we have 20,568 beds. That's an increase of 2,261 beds. So an overall 12% increase in beds in the entire HOMA system. And what I want to, if we go to the next slide, actually, what I want to share here about the utilization. This is really important. So not only do we have the beds, but how many people were in the beds on the night of the count? So from last year to this year in emergency shelter beds, I've had to adjust a little bit here. So that trend line for the ES forgive me, it's more flat than it is going up. We had some adjustments at the end when we were working with HUD. But we went from an average utilization rate for emergency shelter beds of 84% last year to 81% this year in the HIC. That's a 3% decrease. For our permanent supportive housing beds, we went from 94% utilization to 89% utilization. For rapid rehousing, we had 100% utilization last year, and we had 98% utilization this year. For safe haven, we had an increase of 9%. So we went from 81% utilization rate to 90% utilization rate. And from transitional housing, we were at 84% in 2024 to 89% in 2025. So overall here, there's some fluctuation. Some of it is just attributed to natural fluctuations with folks in beds. We were activated for severe weather leading up to this year's PIT, but that was actually, it was not activated during the night of the count. But what we know is that some of these agencies, especially the non-HMIS participating agencies, they were still serving folks, even though the severe weather activation for KCRHA had been called off, they were still serving people who still needed to be indoors while it was still pretty cold out, if you kind of remember that time.
I have a quick question. So I heard you say severe weather beds. Do those get counted during the HIC if it's happening at the same time, or?
If they were open, yes, they would have been counted. But because we were not in activation, we did not, they were not included. They weren't active.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really good question.
Any other questions? Is there any other questions on this slide?
Can I ask now?
Yeah, I think so.
Nobody has addressed veterans and our veterans shelters and our veterans beds, either in yours or this. Are ours, because we have a program just down the street here, are our beds included in all these numbers? Or are they completely pulled out?
If I'm understanding your question right, it's are beds dedicated to veterans counted in this in the HIC?
Yeah, our emergency shelter beds that we have down the street at this program here and stuff, are they included in all your calculations? Or are they just completely pulled out and not?
Yeah, so what we have to do each year, HUD requires that we follow their guidance. And it's the SNAPS office, which is HUD, where HUD produces and generates the guidance for the HMIS lead agency, which is KCRHA. We review that about 10 weeks in advance each year when they publish that. And we follow the guidance there. And in there, yes, we count all the veteran beds that are in our pool.
Thank you.
Now, what I will say, though, is that it's always possible that when we do the HIC, the weeks following, a month following, 2 months following, a new project opens up where we may not have captured those beds in the HIC, but we would pick them up in the following year's housing inventory count. That can cause some confusion sometimes, especially if new beds come online just shortly afterwards. It's like, oh, why did this get counted? Well, the cutoff period was that January 30th date. But I think, Christina, you're asking a deeper question. Why
yes or no?
No,
It's okay. That was my question. So I just want to know the shelter down the street for the vets, whatever, I can't remember what it's called, male vets specifically. They have, I think, like 45 beds or something like that. Are those, and there's 3 others like that in our county. Are they, and they've been open for years.
Yes.
Are they included? That was yes. So.
Yeah, that's a yes. So I think if I was in your position, one of the things I would ask myself is, Daniel, you said that we had a 20% increase in emergency shelter beds, which is a plus of about 1,010 beds estimated, give or take on that night. So that's 1,000 more beds we had the year before, but utilization rate went from 84% last year to 81%. So the volume of beds went up, but the utilization went down by 3%. I think what we're seeing there is that overall beds are going up and utilization is really keeping pace with that. 3% is a pretty small margin. So I just want to recognize that agencies with those extra beds that we've counted from last year, they're holding pretty steady at keeping those filled. Even though we see that small decline, I would just say that that's sort of a margin of error. You know, if we would have done it the day before, the day after, you know, 2-week range, it could have fluctuate within a 5% margin. So not statistically significant, but a real reflection of like the hard work that shelters are doing to utilize these extra beds that we're giving them. And the story it tells, without editorializing too much here, is that the more beds we produce, they're holding steady in terms of occupancy. So they're needed. And then the other big driver for increases from last year to this year is rapid rehousing. That was a total increase of 404 beds. And here, really, this kind of is sort of a mechanistic reason. So we were able to count more beds from the state for their HEN program. And so the way that we were categorized in the HEN program, it was a little unusual because they were falling into transitional housing beds. And when we really looked at how they were operating and working, they were actually rapid rehousing beds. So when we made that change, it increased by quite a bit from last year to this year. So this is more, like I said, like a mechanical change, where I'm actually more apt like to say a definition change, where we knew these beds were, people were being in them for, we're getting rental assistance, and we adjusted the bed typing for that. So the rest of it is pretty much holding steady. We did have a category, other permanent housing beds. These are like PSH beds, but they don't have the eligibility requirements, like with chronic homelessness, like you would have with PSH. And that grew by 264 beds from last year to this year. And the utilization rate went up 4%. And when we looked at that, this came down to the encampment resolution program and the Fry Hotel. That really grew those other permanent housing beds. Row, if you've heard of Row before.
Right. That's good.
Nice.
And then I just wanted to give a couple of definitions so that we're just level set on this. What is a bed? Well, a bed is one space for one person. So in a shelter, you might have 25 beds, you could have 25 cots, you could have 25 mats. That would equal 25 people. A unit, however, and this is work that we've been doing with the live inventory, looking at units and beds. Units are one space for one household. So one unit could have 5 household members, one unit could have 4 household members, and so on. So like a shelter with 10 family units could serve 10 households, even if that was 2 or 5 people.
And how do we
Yeah, go ahead.
differentiate because I see these counts oftentimes kind of use those interchangeably, or are they not using them interchangeably and I'm incorrectly reading it?
For the HIC, we are looking at beds.
Okay, thank you.
Now, what you could say, here's where it could get a little bit, where you could have, where I hear discussions. We might say an emergency shelter has an occupancy of 85%. But all the units in the shelter are full. So the unit occupancy is at 100%. They just don't have every bed filled in each unit.
Oh, I was gonna make a reference, but like jail, like being in a cell in jail, right? There might be 4 beds that are taken and 1 is not. Okay, thank you for.
Yeah, your jail cell would be full. I've never had that one, but this is good. But you might only have 3 cellmates. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's the best, the best example we could maybe use, but I think that's the one that popped into my brain. So thanks, Daniel. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and then I knowing this is recorded, I just want to say our shelter providers work really hard to make those to be safe, affirming environments. They are nothing like jail. But good analogy. Good analogy.
Which is why it's only an analogy, and I did not mean for that. Okay, sorry. We had another slide. I apologize.
Yeah, next slide, please, if I could. Wanted to pause for discussion, knowing that there's not a lot of time. If we could go just to the next slide really quick, because I want to keep the board up to date on what's going on with the 2026 pit. So here's the timeline on where we are. We've done the methodology. We've sent that off to HUD, waiting for approval. They approved it last year. There's no signals that they wouldn't approve it this year. We've actually strengthened our methodology, and now we're heading into we're in the July, September, fall, October, and volunteer recruitment and training and getting supplies together and finalizing hub sites. That's starting to really happen in earnest. And then in about 5 weeks or so, I'll be working with the BIT Focus team to start identifying all of our shelters, transitional housing, and safe haven programs. So we have a real solid active list for when the end of January hits and we do that count. I say me, but I mean the royal we, research and legal team.
I see a question in the room. Christina?
Quick question, when do you have to hear by HUD in order to make sure you can do this by January, as in the government is shut down? So if you don't hear from them by November, does it push it back to February, or just, what is your time frame that you have to have?
Really, I may have mischaracterized that a little bit. I think what we work with William Snow over at the SNAP's office, who reviews this, is it's really just a back and forth answering questions. Actually, by statute, because of the CoC interim rule, really that authority is delegated to us as long as we follow the HUD guidance. And so HUD says you can do an in-person census count, or you can do an estimator, essentially, which is what our method is that. So we're well within the boundaries of choosing that for our community. In fact, that's already been approved by our community. So that's the method we go to. But we want to bring our partners along. And one of the real bonuses of that is we're solving a lot of problems with the estimations, like family phone lines. Dorsal, you've brought up, really great examples of where the data collection might be soft that, I constantly think about. Raise those and amplify that when we talk about how are we going to get to, vehicle residency? What are we doing to work with outreach teams? How are we doing a process improvement so that we're working with Vashon Island? I'm just throwing a lot of examples at you, but making sure that we're aligning, working with neighborhoods and being sensitive about their particular needs and incorporating that. So what we're doing with HUD is, yes, we're sharing the methodology. Yes, we want them to endorse it. And we do that by answering their questions. And so that hopefully other communities that want to go to this model, we've solved a lot of that for them. And those that don't have the resources, volunteers, might think about going to an estimation. What I will say, which is a real bonus this year, is that working with the Department of Commerce, I don't know if you've followed the legislation, but they were doing an annual unsheltered count. They went to an every 2-year count that's aligned now with King County. So we're lockstep now in the state, and that's with all of our state partners as well. Folks can elect to do it unsheltered every year, but the resources and time and really that thoughtful methodology takes a year of planning. So now we're just shoulder to shoulder with the state on this. So that's a really good improvement at a policy level that we worked really diligently with the Department of Commerce.
Yeah, that's a huge milestone there. I think that's really great to hear. And if anybody has any further questions, I would encourage them to please send those to Daniel or myself or Catherine, and we can get those to Daniel. For the sake of time, I do have to. Patricia, I see your hand, but it is 4:02.
Oh, okay.
Can we please make sure that we get
Email the question.
that we email the question? Is that okay with you, Patricia?
I sent the text. I just wanted to clarify, did we miss a vote on the agenda today?
Nope,
Or did we
did not.
Oh, it said
Nope.
vote. Okay.
We had one vote that is for the meeting, the minutes, but I only see informational and closing.
Oh, sorry. It said rapid rehousing. Okay, excuse me.
One thing.
There might have been an update. There was an update. Sorry, go ahead.
If I could, one thing I think for this board in particular, something very important. If HUD were to come today and do an audit and look at our practices with how we conduct the HIC and the PIT, one of the findings that we see over and over again when audits happen is, do you have written policies and procedures? And I can tell you that we are working on the SPC to look at policies and procedures in general for the HMIS. But in regards to the pit and the hick, we have those. Those are up to date. And should someone walk in and want to look at that, those are available for anyone to understand how we collect the hick for non-HMIS, for HMIS, and how we do the pit. So just to assure
Awesome.
the group that we have that in place. So if you're wondering about policies.
Oh, yeah.
That's very,
Fabulous.
that's very great to hear. Give them less reason to look. So, thank you guys so much. I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn the meeting today. And we'll see you next month at November 5th from 2 to 4 p.m.
You did say send it to HUD for approval, right?
No, and thank you
Okay.
so much for the meeting today, guys. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that's what I was asking. I was asking a quick